everyone, and welcome to another little episode of Dannphan's Advice. Today we'll be talking about motivation and inspiration. Man, I'm so tired. So motivation and inspiration go hand in hand, but are not necessarily the same thing. Motivation is typically your drive and your energy to work on a project, while inspiration is the spark in your head, the ideas that have been brewing. If you have the inspiration but you don't have the motivation, you'll have all the ideas in your head, but you'll be too lazy. You won't really feel like working it. You'll save it for another day, and it'll either never get done or you'll forget what you were inspired to do. And if you have the motivation but not the inspiration, you'll be full of energy but not really able to put out anything, and you'll just get frustrated. And then all that energy is going to turn into negative energy, and it's going to make you not want to write anymore. So you really do need both to work on something. And there are ways to kind of trick yourself into getting motivation or getting inspiration. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that, and hopefully this advice can be useful for you whenever you're writing something. So let's say you have the inspiration, but you're just not very energized, you're very lazy, you're laying around watching YouTube videos, watching playthroughs of The Last of Us 2. How do you get the motivation to actually work on what's in your head? In some cases, I find it can be beneficial to kind of force yourself to work on it. If the inspiration is there, then you can put something out. You can put something on the screen. And so long as you kind of push yourself to focus on the inspiration in your head, your passion for what you're doing can give you a little push of energy as you keep working on it more and more and more. Obviously, if you have no passion for what you're working on, I don't know why you're working on it at all. And really getting that motivation does have a lot to do with focus. There are a lot of things that are going to distract you, or sometimes things that put you in a sour mood. Definitely don't keep things that'll put you in a bad mood anywhere near you when you're running dry of motivation. Obviously, you need to feel good to have energy. You need to pump up those endorphins. So turn off the news and get outside, get some exercise, do what you need to do, eat healthy, drink some caffeine, surround yourself with things that make you happy, and chances are the energy will just come naturally. A little trick that I like to do while I'm writing in order to help me stay focused but also stay energized, I like to put on some music in the background actually while I'm writing, or sometimes I'll even put on a funny show or something funny, but sometimes having a show on in the background requires too much attention, so I think music is probably better. You don't want something that'll distract you too much, because then you'll just get caught up in the laziness all over again. But something that's in the background, like keeping this beat and this certain amount of energy up in you. Like when you're listening to really high energy music, it's designed to make you want to dance. It's designed to make you want to get active. So it'll have a similar effect to motivating you when you're actually writing out what you need to get done. And now we move on to a more complicated topic: inspiration. Not everyone finds sources of inspiration super easily. Sometimes people want to write something and they just have no ideas, or they have an idea but they're not really sure what to do with it. They're not really sure how to move forward on that idea. So obviously nothing comes from nothing. So if you're thinking you can just sit in front of a computer with no inspiration at all and just write a masterpiece if you have a certain amount of motivation, it's probably not going to really work out as well. Now theoretically, if you do sit yourself in front of a screen and just do nothing but focus on trying to write something, you'll probably be able to write something. But that's mostly just because your thoughts and your subconscious, you'll daydream. You'll start thinking about things, and eventually you'll think about something that you can write about, or some idea that'll help you push forward the first step to your project. The problem with that is it's not going to happen every time where you eventually think enough to come across an idea, and it's also very, very time consuming to just sit down and think for multiple hours. So I wouldn't typically recommend that, but I do know some people try to do that. To really find inspiration, you really have to search for it. And as funny as it sounds, consuming a lot of media, getting out of the house and trying new things, new places, exploring and having a little bit of fun is all part about how you get inspiration. inspiration. If you want to write a horror story, then you consume a lot of horror media, horror games, horror movies, horror books. Maybe you even go out and go to one of those haunted mazes. Putting your mind in that mindset, you can look at other people's ideas and get inspired for an entirely new idea, or there could be something that you thought was, poorly executed, and you start thinking about how you would have done it better. That's very typical of people who watch movies. They think to themselves, oh man, this character's an idiot, I would have done this. But if you're a writer and you know you can do something better than this other writer, do it. This is kind of what you do. You do it better. And inspiration can be hidden in all kinds of nooks and crannies. You can even start looking back at your old videotapes that you have of when you were a child. For people who struggle writing children, they don't really know how a realistic child would act, you can look back at those tapes and those actually help. You can even just straight up take some of the actual dialogue from your own childhood and, edit it up a little bit, make it look pretty, and you can put it on a child in your story. The very basics of inspiration is that you just need to do your research. If you're making a Fast and Furious story, start looking up information on cars. Educate yourself. If you're going to make a cop comedy, start educating yourself on cops, on the law, on what kind of villain you can make for that. Look up criminals from the past and base your villain off of one of those criminals. Now, there might be some contradictions when it comes to finding inspiration and trying to get motivated for it. For instance, social media. I hear a lot of people every now and then, they're like, I go on social media to get my inspiration because of the people I follow. I'm following to get inspiration for this book. I'm looking at their post. But every time I go on social media, I also find this other thing that bums me out for the rest of the day, and then I don't have any motivation. And like I said, you need both. I do think it is possible for you to quit social media while you're writing something. Find other places to get your inspiration from, more direct places. Like I said before, if you want to get motivation, chances are you're going to have to turn off the news because it's probably going to bum you out. And social media is just filled to the brim with the news. But if you really want to keep your social media up, you probably have to do some blocks, change some settings around. I think Twitter, no matter what, will show you the news. If it's not in your feed, it'll show you on the sidebar or something, which is really irritating. But maybe there's some way to mute it. I'm not really quite sure, and I'm sure that it differs from different websites that you're using for your social media. But if you have to filter out certain posts, you could probably make the extra effort to do that. I would personally just take a break, but I understand that not necessarily everyone can take a break, especially when they use their social media to promote their stuff or do business exchanges with other people. But anyway, those are just my 2 cents on the subject. I've heard many takes on the motivation and inspiration discussion. I know that some writers are a little bit crazy when it comes to how they find inspiration. Some of them will take full credit as if nothing in the real world inspired them. It was just all in here. Some people think that idea fairies just come to them, sprinkle a little magic in their eyes, and then they write. No, I'm not joking. It's real. Look it up. But for me personally, I think it's all about just taking care of your mental health and doing your due diligence, doing your research, finding new things in new places. So what do you think? Leave your thoughts below in the comments section, and if you have your own advice when it comes to this topic, please by all means share. As usual, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!
Program restart. Shutting down all systems.